Is Wednesday, May 17th at 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time, USA, 16:45. It is the year 2023. I'm Mitch Miller. This is my video journal. It's the day after primary election day. My friend Ken Bryan won the Republican nomination for county commissioner. Hopefully he wins the commissioner race, but hey, it's a mandate, or it's a message to all Republicans. The new path forward for the Republican Party is one of transparency, right? Both parties should be transparent, but maybe the Republicans will take the leadership on that. I don't know. I talked to Ken. He said he had to register all his donors with the courthouse. I said we could publish that on your website too, and he said, yeah, I don't know. Some people want to be anonymous, so he's still playing the game to some degree, and why you wouldn't be upfront about who donated to you. You'd have to with the courthouse apparently, but you might have to do extra digging to find out who donated to Ken's campaign. Why not be open, transparent, and public on the internet about it? Anyhow, congratulations to him. Moves us one step closer to peace in Ukraine by getting county commissioners to sign a peace treaty with Ukrainian and Russian county commissioners, right? Now I put the peace treaty directly to Emmanuel Macron publicly on my Plowdown website. But I haven't heard anything from his people yet. I asked him if he would please sign my peace treaty. Obviously he's controversial, having domestic issues, so I've targeted him to be the first to sign the treaty. I think we could use the treaty to help solve his domestic issues as well. Because I don't agree with raising the age in the retirement age in France. They're going to do it all through Europe, then they'll do it here in the United States. You have to wait until you're 65 to retire. You can't get paid out early at age 62 and a half or whatever it is. And who knows, maybe they even say government employees can't retire after 20 years. At least the military, I know, can retire after 20 years. Maybe it'll be 22 years now. It's just once one country falls, the rest follow suit. They see they can get away with it, make people work longer. And how much of it is they want to keep that skilled labor because nobody wants to work? Well, nobody wants to work because you don't want to pay them. That's the simple math of it. Nobody wants to be a waiter or a waitress and deal with the public because they're extremely rude. They're even more rude now after this pandemic because they haven't been forced to be socialized. But they were always rude. Americans are rude people. And I've worked service and retail, and they are extremely rude people. My theory is they get bossed around at work so much for so little pay that they like to take it out on the service and retail workers because they're supposedly paying them. They're actually paying the business owner who pays the retail worker even less. Might be that everywhere in every part of the world, this system of not being polite to people. Anyhow, I'm getting off topic. So the election. So I was back working with the robots today. I worked with the Happy robotic sewing machine. Anthony wanted to nickname it PP. I asked him what nickname it would be. I said maybe Appy, but I was thinking Pappy because it's an older machine, still running. But he came up with PP, so I posted that on my Twitter post situation. Worked with the robot all day. I didn't want to. My idea was it's low stress if I don't have to work with the robots, and I can just trim. All the jobs are done, and I just trim them and string up the thread in the machine. Still work with them somewhat, but not have to do the jobs, because number one, Nick isn't very organized. His paperwork is all over the place. He's trying to work on it, but it's easy to screw up a job, and I just don't want to get back into it for $15 an hour. For $15 an hour, my idea is to trim using the scissors and have low stress situation. But Nick hurt his back, even though he's going to a Blink-182 concert today. He hurts his back quite frequently. He looked like he was in a lot of pain, so I offered to work with the Happy Machine for the rest of the day. And I know from injuring my back, it's hard to prove, it's a lot of pain, and it seems like a fake injury. But if I know one thing, here's one thing I'm going to say, put out there: you do not fake a back injury. It's a lot of pain, and it decommissions you. So you can fake a lot of things, the flu, the common cold, lie about those to get out of work. You don't fake a back injury. Anyhow, we're here to talk about replace mass shootings and school shootings with mask shootings and school shootings. This is something I talked about in my modcast in my living room, just talking to my devices. It was a way to promote my non-lethal pistol dueling company, because I think if we develop smart weapons and non-lethal pistol duels, we'll solve the mass shooting and school shooting problem. I have other strategies as well, but this is the biggest thing we can do. Politicians would rather just yell at each other about more regulation and stuff. We have a lot of regulation on the books. If you enforced it like you enforce drug law, you probably wouldn't have the gun issue either. But they just want to pass more legislation, piggyback a bunch of crap in on there, and play politics. So this was something I put to the classic rock and roll, the rock and roll community. I said, let me be the arbiter of your estate, the handle your image, your all of your intellectual property. If you're a rock and roller from the 60s, 70s, 80s, sign over in your will all of your image rights, your intellectual property rights, any rights we can think of, where they could use. My idea was they're going to use holograms of you to continue to make money, and your family's going to sign off on it so that they can make a little bit of money off of these big concert events where it's all holograms. They're already doing it, right? When you die, you're dead. Don't let your image go on. Let your music go on. That's why you created the art, but you don't need to let holographic computer-generated images of you continue to rake in millions of dollars. Maybe that's what you want. You want to be immortalized as a holographic image. Me, I'm a human person, and this is my thought process. So the strategy was it was supposed to be a publicity stunt. Get Rolling Stone to have some photographers at the or other magazines that have photographers at your funeral. At your funeral, I, Mitch Miller, who's going to take over your estate, walk up with a Guy Fawkes mask on and a non-lethal paintball gun dueling pistol with a red paintball in it. I walk up to your casket at the end of the service as you're about to be buried. I open up the casket, I fire a red paintball into your chest, and I pull my mask up and I look at your entire family. I say, you're not going to get any money from his estate. You're on your own. I'm starting a trust to handle his or her estate and intellectual property. What they left you in their will is all you're going to get. Don't try to come after this intellectual property and things like that. We're using it for a great good to change the world into a better place. So then I manage your image, your estate, your intellectual property in a way that brings money in for a sustainable green revolution right? Some of the programs I've talked about, but here's the thing. So it's a publicity stunt, right? A mask shooting, a cool shooting. It's cool. It's in Rolling Stone. People see this, and it was a way to promote, hey, let's do pistol duels instead of just killing people, right? So here's what I've come up with since then, and this is why I'm doing this now. This program relies on you getting back your intellectual property, which you signed over to the studios and the record labels. And I have a way for modern artists to do that, and that's why I have put things up about Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift to talk to me, and we can strategize a way for you to own your music outright. I have strategies for that I'll talk to certain people about if they approach me. But for the 60s, 70s classic rock and rollers, here's what I think you do, right? We take your, basically you, hold on one second here. Basically, we take your music and we, oh, so that's interesting. Okay, so basically we take your music off of the mass media spectrum, right? In honor of World War II. We cannot let people forget World War II, right? The Holocaust, all of this. So what this is we position ourselves, you position yourselves to basically sue the record labels or litigate against the record labels in the studios to take all of your copyrighted music off of mainstream mass media, People can own it individually, own the vinyls, own the tapes, own the MP3s, but it'll stop being broadcast over the mainstream, over the broadcast media, however that's defined. Streaming services, we take it off of streaming services. We take it off streaming services by September 1st, 1939, or possibly New Year's of 2039, right? World War II started September 1st, 1939. That's up, or September 2nd, or it ended. Okay, so 1939 is the goal year. We take all of your music off of streaming, broadcast, and it's in honor of World War II. It's in remembrance of World War II. So we take all the money we earn off of that music up until 1939, start a trust to basically litigate any streaming mass media, any streaming or broadcast media that plays your music from 1939 to the, from 2039 to the 100th year anniversary of when the music was released. So all your albums get re-released into broadcast media on their 100th anniversary. So if you put out an album in 1969, August 20th, 1969, that album becomes available again through broadcast for all the broadcasters on August 20th, 2069, right? So we recreate history of the 60s and 70s in a way. Now people have been able to own your music from 1939 until, or from 2039 till 2069. It just hasn't been out in the mainstream being broadcast. It's an interesting strategy. You may say if we're not broadcasting it all the time, it'll fall by the wayside and people won't be interested in it. But I believe rock and roll will stand the test of time. And if we do this, if we go radio silent for 20, 30, 40 years, people will embrace it again, and you'll be able to earn enough money in that period of time to feed the trust so that in 2139 you shut it down again. And this is what rock and roll did. They said, we're going to go radio silent. We were raised by the radio. We were built by radio. And now we're going radio silent for 20 or 30 years in honor of, so that we never forget World War II and the atrocities that happened there. And the reason I want to do this is World War II, I believe, can be attributed, the atrocities that occurred can be attributed to two things. Number one, the right to trial by jury was ignored. It was in the United States Constitution. It might have been in European constitutions. And we haven't guaranteed the right to trial by a jury of your peers, meaning 12 people, as a human right. We haven't guaranteed that. Number two, the moving picture with sound, the film industry. That form of propaganda, that form of media, propagated the Nazis and allowed them to become so powerful. So those two things greatly contributed to why the atrocities of World War II were allowed to happen. So, and rock and roll contributed soundtracks, music to soundtracks of tons of motion pictures and so on and so forth. So I think this falls into place, right? Media played a huge part in World War II. It played a part in World War I, but it played, having sound and image played a huge part in why we had that large war in Europe. And the role of mass media in all wars from that time on is an interesting one. I believe it's responsible for the people who run mass media, who own it, and who manage it, are responsible for most of the wars and deaths. Now, they use religion a lot to reaffirm what they're promoting through the media, and that's why I say religion is dangerous as well, an unregulated religion. But the structure of the mass media of the United States and other countries is very dangerous and leads to a lot of death and destruction. We hoped that the internet would change that, but it's been 20 years with a decent internet connection, and we're still disinformed, misinformed, we're even more polarized than ever because the people in charge of the media and the internet are horrible people. They are profit-driven, greedy monsters, basically. And I hope they're judged accordingly. That's why I'm cautious not to put out hysterical type of things. I'm very low key. I'm not screaming from the rooftops. I'm letting it be digested. But again, I could anyhow, that's the strategy for the new strategy for replace mass shootings and school shootings with mass shootings and school shootings. If you were a rock and roller in the 60s, 70s, 80s, contact me. We'll work on this strategy. We'll work on how we can litigate to get you out of the mass media You'll probably be dead by 2039. So again, we can put in your wills and through your management and stuff what needs to happen, and whether you want to be defaced at a funeral to make headlines in newspapers and magazines is up to you. I think it's a pretty rock and roll way to go out. Some guy in a Guy Fawkes mask walks up and shoots you with a paintball gun. But maybe you just want a quiet funeral with friends and family around. That was just my shock value idea. Because you can have media that's interesting, but it should have purpose and it should inform people. And that was one idea I had. I don't know how good of an idea it is, but I think taking the break from 2039 to 1971 or whatever is a good strategy and a good idea for the music industry. Contact me if you want to hear about my other strategies. We'll probably have to meet in a place without televisions and things that can spy on us. Hope you're open to that. Hope you're willing to do that. And thanks for joining me. I won't be back till next week. I'm sure I'll think of some things to talk about. Thanks, and see you next time.